about breath and breathing techniques during working out, exercising. It's kind of an interesting one to talk about because there's so many different ways people like to breathe and what feels right for them and comfortable for them, whether you're running or weightlifting or doing yoga or Pilates. But no matter what I do, and I've done all of it and been a dancer, is after training Pilates, I really do, I've said it in my blog, I really do find myself doing the Pilates technique of breathing more than anything. And I like to play around with my breath. I don't try to stay, like someone says, well, if this is the way you're supposed to breathe, this is how it doesn't always work for the same person. So I'm just going to give you some examples if you want to see what's going on with your breath. So the best way to do it is, I'm going to lay back here. In Pilates, when I was taught, before you're really strong in your lungs, before your diaphragm is really worked and your lungs are really worked, your breath is so short, and most people breathe really shallow. And I wrote about that in the blog. And most people don't even realize because they're just breathing, but they're not taking as much air as their lungs could possibly do. So in the beginning when you're working out, let's say I'm just going to start moving. Most people will do an exhale, and this is fine too, an exhale on your exertion. So you're going to take a deep inhale through your nose, but I'm going to fill my lungs up wide and into my back as opposed to breathing up high. If I breathe up high, it leaves my abdominal muscles exposed out and my back will start to arch. So in order to keep your abdominal muscles still really engaged on an inhale, instead of inflating your belly, you really start learning how to breathe wide and deep through your rib cage and into the mat. And that's a big Pilates technique. Also, I won't be breathing up here. So I'm going to inhale, and I'm going to exhale on my exertion. That's the normal thing that people do because we're strongest on our exhale. When we exhale really deep and we contract and make our ribs small and make our abdominals really small, that's when we're super strong. That's when we get a good force, a good powerful lift. Okay, so let's go through this. In the beginning, right, you can do that. You can do one breath for every movement. But I was taught, as you get stronger and you want your breath to last longer and you want to be able to go further, you let that breath extend. So you're doing more movements with every breath. So now I'm going to inhale 2 and then exhale 2. And your inhale is usually your weakest point. So in Pilates, it teaches you to get strong on your weakest point. And a lot of times they'll tell you to reverse the breath. So I'll go inhale, and then I'll reverse, slow it down. Now I'll do 2. And that breath is really deep. It's not like, that's getting you in a hyperventilated breath. Okay? Now if you're going to do a plyo, and that's the same thing, I'm not going to use my board, but I'm going to use this. I'm going to definitely use my exhale on my jump because that will give me the most power. And then I'm going to hold it at the top, okay? So I'm going to go. I'm going to put all that power in my abdomen. And I'm going to really use those muscles to extend me so I'm not just using my legs. A lot of times people think that your jumping is just in your legs. So much of it is in your breath. Now, when we talk about yoga, I wrote that in there too. Yoga uses a breath that's in through the nose, out through the nose. And it travels deep within back of your vocal cords. It's the ujjayi. So I don't know if you can hear me, but it sounds like this. It's long and deep. And you can feel that breath almost in that passage where your nose, and your throat meet. You let it resonate back there. And then I want to show you the breathing technique for Pilates with the breathing wide of the lungs. Okay? So instead of breathing high, up here, I'm still not getting that full breath, but if I put my hands on the side of my ribs, and I'm going to breathe wide like an accordion. So I'm going to fill my hands up wide, okay? And you can see me getting wider. My inhale is as deep as I could go until I just can't inhale anymore, and then and you can see my lungs and my ribs, everything getting in and squeeze the last breath of it out. So it's inhale, exhale. There might be a time in your life when you need your lungs, you need your breath, and you haven't trained it. And so you're out of breath. And I wrote in there about running and especially real hard cardio stuff. You need your breath. Otherwise, you can't go further in it, and you can't last, and you can't get stronger. So everywhere you are, I was taught even when you're in your car, practice your breath. Practice your breathing when you're sitting there waiting at a light. Practice your breathing when you're laying down in bed. Feel your back make an imprint into the mat. Just every day, work it just like you're working out your legs, just like you're working out your arms. Learn how to breathe properly. It will be the best thing that you chose to focus on. I promise you, and I've said this before, it will be the best thing in your life. So, I guess that's it. Until next time, bye.